All right, guys, so this is review for this week. We're gonna solve system of equations. We learn how to solve by graphing. We learn how to solve by substitution. We learn how to solve by elimination. Now you do whichever method you want. My instructions are just solve. You use whichever method you want. Now, I'm assuming you don't like graphing, so I'm gonna practice both substitution and elimination. I'm gonna do the odd questions as substitution, and then I'm gonna do the even questions as elimination. Okay, so I'm gonna do substitution on the left, and I'm gonna do elimination on the right. Let's practice substitution. I must have a letter by itself. So I have a y by itself. So everything that y is equal to, I'm gonna replace it for y on the other equation. So I'm gonna write this as negative 7x minus 4 inside parentheses negative 2x plus 3 equals negative 13. I replace the value of y for y. Now let's get rid of parentheses. Distribute the negative 4. So it's going to give me negative 7x plus 8x minus 12 equals negative 13. Simplify the left side. So it's going to give me 1x minus 12 equals negative 13. The minus 12, let me move it over as a plus 12. So that gives me x equals negative 1. I know half of my answer. I know the x value. Now for the y value, I'm going to use any equation that I have. Any of them. Let me choose this one. So I have that y is equal to negative 2 times negative 1 plus 3. I know the value of x now. So I have that y is equal to positive 2 plus 3. So I know y equals 5. There's my answer. Remember, you must write them in alphabetical order, x first, then y, and you must type in a space after the comma. Let me do number 17 as substitution again. Remember I said I'm going to do the odd questions as substitution. Everything that x is equal to, everything that y is equal to, I'm going to replace it for the y here. So let me rewrite the first equation as negative 3x minus 7 times 3x plus 20 is equal to 4. So I have that negative 3x minus 21x minus 140. Notice I'm distributing the negative 7 is equal to 4. I can combine my x's, so that gives me negative 24x minus 140 is equal to 4. My negative 140, let me move it over as a plus 140. So I have the negative 24x equals 144. Let me divide each side by negative 24. X in this case is negative 6. I know half of my answer. I know my x value. Now for my y value, I'm going to use any equation that I want. I'm going to use this one. So I have that y is equal to 3 times negative 6 plus 20. So I have that y equals negative 18 plus 20. So y must be 2. Remember to type inside parentheses. There's a comma. There's a space after the comma, and you must write them in alphabetical order. For substitution, one of your letters must be by itself. Now, here for number 19, I don't have a letter by itself. I look at the first equation. If I can get the x by itself, but eventually I'm going to have to divide by negative 5. Dividing these numbers by negative 5 is going to be not too nice. I could get the y by itself, but I'm going to have to divide each of these numbers by negative 3. Some of them are not going to be too simple. But I look at this one. In order to get the x by itself, eventually I'm going to have to divide these numbers by -4. Yeah, that's doable. So I'm going to get, on my second equation, I'm going to get the x by itself. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move the 12y over. So let me write this as -4x equals -12y plus 16. Remember, I moved the 12y over to the other side of the equal sign, so I switched the sign. So that's what I have now. Now, to get the x by itself, let me divide everything by -4. So I get that x is equal to 3y minus 4. Now, everything that x is equal to, I'm going to replace it for this x. So I'm going to write -5 times 3y minus 4 minus 3y equals -16. Distribute the number outside of the parentheses to get rid of parentheses. So that's going to give me -15y plus 20 minus 3y equals -16. When I combine my y's, I get -18y plus 20 equals to -16. My plus 20, let me move it over as a minus 20. So I have that -18y equals -36. Divide both sides by -18. So y in this case is 2. I know half of my answer. Since I'm going to write them in alphabetical order, notice I'm putting my 2 after. Now I have to solve for x. For me to solve for x, I'm going to use this equation. I can use any equation that I want. I'm going to use that one. So I have that x is equal to 3 times 2 minus 4. So I know that x is equal to 6 minus 4. So x is equal to 2. So I did the odd questions using substitution. Remember, for substitution, one of my letters must be by itself. Now, the even questions, let me do elimination. For elimination, I must have the x and the y, both of them, on the left side of the equal sign. So for the first equation, let me move the 7x over. So I have 7x plus y equals -3. Notice the only one that switched the sign was the 7x, because that's the only one that I moved. My second equation, I have 6x minus 3y equals -18. My goal is that I combine my like terms and one of them cancels out. In this case, none of them do. Now, I can cancel the x's if I want. I could make them 7x and 6x. I can make them each 42x. If I multiply the top by 6, the bottom by 7, right, I can multiply both equations. Make sure you multiply every term in that equation by the same number. That looks a little complicated. If I want to cancel the y's, actually let me do that. Let me multiply the top by 3. Because in that case, my 3y with the -3y from the other equation are going to cancel out. So once again, I'm going to multiply everything by 3 on the first one. So I have 21x plus 3y equals -9. My second equation, I have 6x minus 3y equals -18. 3y minus 3y cancel out. So that's what I wanted. So I have that 27x equals -27. Divide each side by the number in front of the x. X equals -1. I know half of my answer. Now to solve for y, I'm going to use any equation that I have. I'm going to use this one. So I have that y equals -7 times -1 minus 3. So I have that y equals +7 minus 3. So y equals 4. Now looking at number 18, if I combine my x's and they don't cancel out, right? Both x's and y are on the left side, so that's good. If I combine the y's, none of them cancel out. However, if I multiplied everything on the top by 2, my y is going to become 14y. The other equation has a 14y, so they don't quite cancel out. I need one of them to be negative. So in this case, let me multiply the first one by -2. Okay, so now my y's are going to cancel out. So let's take a look. First equation is multiply everything by -2. So it's going to give me -4x. Let me write it a little below. So it's going to give me -4x minus 14y equals -52. I multiplied everything by -2. The second equation I have -7x plus 14y equals -14. My y's cancel out because they have the same number, different signs. When it comes to x's, I have -11x. Now -52 and a -14, that gives me -66. Divide both sides by the number in front of the x. X in this case is equal to +6. I know half of my answer. Now to solve for y, I'm going to use any equation that I want. Now, the second equation has a bunch of negatives, so I'm just going to choose this one. I have 2 times 6, because I know the value of x now. 2 times 6 plus 7y equals 26. So I have that 12 plus 7y equals 26. The plus 12, let me move it over as a -12. So I have that 7y equals 14. Let me divide by the number in front of the letter. Y equals 2. So my answer is 6, 2. Remember, I must write them in alphabetical order. X first and then Y. All right, let's take a look at number 20. I think we can get rid of y's. Looking at the y's, the first one I'm going to multiply by 3, but that will give me -3y. -3y with -3y won't cancel out. So in this case, let's multiply with -3, because that way it will give me +3y. All right. So first equation, I'm going to multiply everything by -3. So it gives me 12x plus 3y equals -27. Second equation, I have -10x minus 3y equals 27. And once again, the y's cancel out. That's what I wanted. When it comes to x, 12 minus 10, I get 2x. -27 plus 27, that gives me 0. Divide by the number in front of the x. So I get that x is equal to 0. So I know half of my answer, the x value. Now for the y value, I'm going to use any equation that I want. Let me look at the original question. There's a bunch of negatives. So as a matter of fact, since I can use any equation that I want, I'm going to choose this one. So I have that 12 times 0 plus 3y equals -27. 12 times 0 is 0, so that basically goes away. I have that 3y equals -27. Divide by the number in front of the y. Y equals -9. Your answer must be in alphabetical order, x and y. Don't forget to put the comma, and don't forget to type in the space after the comma. Because my instructions are solved, you solve however you want.